Greetings. Do you like my suntan? I achieved it sitting right here on my little patio. Welcome to my channel. I'm Kat, and I am a narcissistic abuse survivor. Now, I have asked myself, why am I making these videos? Am I reliving the trauma? Is the recounting of it beneficial for me, or is it negatively affecting me? Well, I don't know that, but I do know this. I feel the necessity to express myself to my audience for two reasons. One, it helps me get things off my chest. And two, it's an intention of mine that some young woman will avoid the traps that I had fallen for. Basically, narcissistic abuse, narcissistic partners. Now, in my healing, after I married one, then the other, and then was in a long term with another who I was not going to marry because there were just way too many red flags, I had to ask myself, why am I attracted to this type of guy? And it wasn't until August of 2021 that I came to the rude realization that I am a child, the invisible child of a pathologically narcissistic mother. Now, people go, well, if narcissists are so bad, why do people stay with them so long? Because there is a psychological thing called cognitive dissonance. There's disassociation, there's trauma amnesia, and there's a bunch of other things, including this. The narcissist isn't awful all of the time, which makes it that much more difficult to deal with it as the main supply. There's words and terminology that one should familiarize themselves, and it's this. What does the pathological narcissist need? They need supply, which is energy source. They need to control you. They need character traits and residual benefits. Now, let's go back to my mother again. I did not actually put two and two together. I spent my entire adult childhood knowing that she could say terrible things, knowing that she was a yeller and all of that, highly opinionated, but I didn't know what she was until I visited her and my dad for their 87th and 92nd birthday. Does the narcissist age well? No, they do not. And the inability to have a conversation with one where there is a equal playing field is a sign. When you're dating a narcissist, they cannot be identified, especially since love is blind and they're very charming and they love bomb you, which is another word you're going to learn if you haven't already heard it. And they give you the attention and love you've always wanted. They say the things that make you feel good. And then once they have you ensnared, and they know it, on some level they know it, then they withdraw and they give less and less. Why? Because they need your supply. And they do not want to exert their precious energy on you. And I'm serious. So, one thing all narcissists have is they're unconscious of their narcissism. They may even accuse you of being a narcissist, which is a joke, but they do. Somebody just went by in a car that is making noises. I don't like these characters that much. why there's so many of them on the planet, I liken it to an infection. And I can proudly say that I escaped the infection for myself. And I know that for a fact, because my entire life, like I told you, I always thought I had a happy childhood because I had a roof over my head and I had material things, and yet not that many things that were actually of high quality. I was told that I was expensive. I was told I should be grateful for everything. Oh, you're going to love this. The television had more say-so than I did, and it had a seat at the table, and we were shushed. My entire childhood, shushed, not listened to at all, which explains my hatred of TVs. In fact, I actually don't own one. And as soon as I moved out of the house, well, prison, I never owned one, ever. And the one thing I love about not having a man is not having a television set. And the second thing is not having piss on the floor in the bathroom or under the rim, which I got blamed for. And now that I live solo by choice, and also because I think there are no decent men left, then I know for a fact because I don't sprinkle on the rim. I used to get blamed for that, and it was a narc. So the mother, the source of the misery, they are jealous of their daughter. They compete with the father for the attention for his attention. They do not allow the father to spend quality time with the children unless it serves them. I remember having one outing with my father, with my two sisters, when my mother had to take an exam for her master's degree in guidance and counseling, which my oldest sibling, my brother, has said, it's funny. He goes, well, yeah, she got educated on exactly what to do to mess up a child's mind. I swear that's exactly what she did. Yeah. And I am in my adulthood. I am mature. I've got two 30-something-year-old kids that now I'm a grandmother. And they, thankfully, because of my hard work, do not have the tendencies that a narcissist has. Now, my children's father is a lesser narcissist. Yes, there are different types. There's a lesser. There's the vulnerable, covert, and then there's the overt. Now, there's supposedly an ultra, and they are on YouTube. There's a man whose voice you only hear. He sounds like he's from an aristocratic family in England. And the other guy, I don't know his accent, but he does do seminars and presentations on YouTube. And he is admittedly a narcissist. And he does these presentations for his own purposes, but it does pad his wallet, because unless the partner of a narcissist dies from cancer or kills herself or leaves, I mean, he's going to be alone. Eventually, the narcissist will be alone. In my mother and father's case, I don't know what my father's backstory is, because all we ever hear is my mother's backstory and how hard she had it. So that's the common denominator of every single narcissist that I've experienced. They have a poor, poor, pitiful me backstory. I did not know that I had a pathologically narcissist mother until 2021. Oh, excuse me, 2022. This year. Yeah. And it's as if I have a new lease on life. It's as if I am finally living, because I'm living in truth and in clarity. And I didn't have any of that before. So the backstory, every single one of my ex-narcs all had a poor, pitiful me backstory. And I, thinking that I had a wonderful childhood, had nothing bad to say other than my mother says terrible things and she's highly opinionated. And when I was younger, she used to make me cry at every family get together by her condescension and remarks and ridicule. And so I started to avoid them. I avoided them. She was a name caller. If you didn't like something and you voiced your dissent, it was called belly aching, complaining, being ungrateful. And I had to justify my existence. I was told I was expensive. So it's hurtful when you really realize what you've been through and that my entire life has been a sham. And that all these partners I never would have chosen had I been healthy. We didn't have boundaries when I was a kid. Let me give you an example of my mother's cruelty. When I was a senior in high school, I overdrank at my sister Janine's going away party. She was going to join the Army. Now, I did not join the Army for two reasons. One, I was tired of having somebody tell me what to do. And two, I knew I couldn't kill somebody. There was no way I can commit murder. I can't even kill a narc. Especially knowing I can't, because why would I put them out of their misery when their lives and their minds are going to create the misery and the torture and the prison for the rest of their life. So I don't need to end it, especially since it is so good to have gotten away from 1, 2, and then 3. It's marvelous. So let's talk about what they are all about. So you're dating one, right? And here are signs. If they are giving you all of this love and attention, and you're like, wow, if you're love starved, it really is going to look like it was the best thing ever. But then you're going to start to notice how they have conditions. They don't want you to spend time with anybody else. If you do, they become jealous. They accuse you of things that aren't true. Things like that. So the backstory is their common denominator. My mother had a backstory. Oh, poor me. I had an awful childhood. We had no money. I had to work for a living. You kids have it so good. And then husband number 1, poor him. Backstory. Mother didn't love me. Second husband, backstory, 2 alcoholic parents, dead father at, he was in his 20s or early 30s at the time when his father finally drank himself to death. And then my third, backstory, alcoholic parents. Mother abandoned them when he was 5, walked away and never came back. If your partner that you're dating has a backstory, that is a red flag. I did not know my backstory until this year. I did not know I was the invisible child. I did not know I was misdirected. I did not know any of these things. I had what's called trauma and amnesia, as well as I made do with what I had. I had probably some sort of innate ability to cope that my older sister, who's now narcissistic, does not have. At least she was narcissistic towards me. My oldest sister is toxic. I won't have a thing to do with her. So, okay. Everything they have in common. All right, they all lie. Now, lies come in different forms. They either withhold information, they embellish information, or they straight up lie. Yes. They will straight up lie. They also do smear campaigns. So why you're not with them or why they're doing what they're doing to other people, they will tell things about you. Now, this is a funny story. with that last one, because 3's the charm and I hadn't gotten it yet. I had to have 3 narcs to finally get it. And then once I healed, only then could I actually see the traumatic childhood I had had. Oh, I was going to tell you this story. I'm a senior in high school. I'll go to my oldest sister's going away party because she's going to join the army, because apparently she can kill people and she doesn't mind being told what to do. And my friend Mary wants to take me for a drive, and she tells me later, my friend Mary actually wanted to kill me. Now, Mary had a backstory, and I heard all about her alcoholic father, and she was living with her sister and brother-in-law at the time, which is how she came to be at my school. So she's all angry with me, and she says, let's go for a drive, because she likes this guy, Chris. And Chris is a family friend. So she asks me, do I like Chris? And I'm like drunk off my ass. And I say, oh, I love Chris. I love him. He's so great. And she said, let's go for a ride. And later she told me she tried to kill me. So we're coming up on a hill, and I'm like, I know there's a tree. I know there's a corner. I crouch down into my seat, and a little voice says, it will be all right, just relax. It was my angel. So everything slowed down. We're going around the corner. I can see the tree. She pulls the car, tries to side swipe it so that I get hit. Yes, she did this. And instead, because of the speed, it backed up, and we hit the back of the vehicle's rear, went into the tree, not me. That's a friend, right? So in slow motion, my knees went up, they hit my mouth, and I bit halfway through my lip. And it was so loud, the party came down, because it was actually like, gosh, not even a quarter mile from the party. And I was in shock, obviously. My sister told me things that I don't remember about how the car was a mess. And then she called my dad, and he came and got me. So this is how my lovely pathological narcissistic mother handled this. Now, my body has just been through an accident. I'm all shook up. I go home, I pass out. And in the morning, bright and early, this woman comes into the room, grabs one of my legs. She's yelling and screaming at me. And she's saying all of this stuff. She looks like those venomous things with spit flying out. And she grabs my leg, and I'm holding on to my bed. And she pulls me off of the bed frame. The box spring is still there, but I'm holding onto the mattress. Me and the mattress, I'm like 120, 25, come off of the bed, I'm clinging to it, and she's screaming at me for making her worry about my well-being. From having her to have to suffer, not knowing what happened to her daughter. For her having to worry about my life. That is pathological. And what happened after that? I'll tell you what happened after that. I became despondent. I ended up years later going to a chiropractor, and he goes, you know, your pelvis is twisted and one of your legs is longer than the other. Yep. So that backstory, I never told anybody. Now you've heard it. These guys, these narcs, they could give a F-U-C-K. Well, that's all they want from you. So because I never had a parent model conversation, because I had a television set that took precedent over me, because I was the invisible child, misdirected, corrected, reprimanded, disrespected, no boundaries. I was not allowed to have boundaries. I couldn't recognize healthy relationship if it came up and greeted me with a nice, beautiful love beam on their face of friendliness. I was only attracted to the adrenal rush, trauma-filled relationships that reminded me of home, bittersweet home. So that is what happens to a child of a narcissistic mother. But it's never too late to have a happy childhood, even at my age, and to possibly meet a man. But if I meet a widower, I'm going to assume that he narked his woman to death. And I will be on high alert. So anyway, they all lie. They all lie. They all find a way to sneak around something on you. They keep secrets. They're secretive. They all lack communication skills because they talk at you. They dictate to you. Husband number one, if I wanted to have a conversation with him, he would get all pouty and sulky and despondent and would not be able to talk to me. Husband number two, there was no conversation. I had to listen to his dictation. He dictated. And number three, I remember saying, look, we really need to have a conversation. And he got physically violent with me and threatened that he was going to turn into a Tasmanian devil if I sought communication. Of course I didn't see what this was. You, healthy person, like, doing, you dumb whatever, just what I would be called by narc number three, dumb bitch. Didn't you know? No. I'm trying to tell you. If you grew up your entire life responsible for the feelings of another being, your parent, do you really think you'd see it as an adult? No, you don't. So, here's the biggie. So, let's say you are like myself, not anymore. I am now past this. But you meet somebody, they want to rush things. They want you to move in right away. That's another red flag. So they want to dominate your time, they want to manipulate. They can't really communicate. They really can't. And they are going to create problems out of nothing. And if you are a weak child of a narcissistic mom, then you're conditioned to try to make things better. And so if they're telling you that you're upsetting them, you believe them. Now the true colors, they won't show you anybody else their true colors, but they'll show you. Everybody else thinks they're a good guy. So being with a narcissist is very, very lonely because nobody will believe you. Nobody sees it. Nobody but you and your guardian angel. So that love bombing, you'll never have them love you like that again. And if you break up with them, you should wisely stay broken up with them. This is what they'll do. I'm so sorry. They do what's called future faking. I will be better. I know it's just that I just have a really bad reaction when you go out with your girlfriend and don't tell me where you're going. I just get so upset because of my abandonment issues, and you really need to tell me where you're going to be. No. They blame you for their feelings. Red flag. They all withdraw. Every last one would withdraw in one way or another. My first one would get sulky, and he would stew and act all angry, and it'd be like, here we go again. Number two, cold shoulder treatment, silent treatment. I was so not prepared for this that it tormented me. But if you're living with one and you know now that you're living with one or you're married to one, God help you. Let their silent treatment be your silent treat. Warm up to the cold shoulder. Get a savings account that they don't know about. You've got to get away. You are not strong enough, and you will die in that relationship if you haven't already died a spiritual death. Once you get out of it, you won't have that brain fog. You won't have the adrenal fatigue. You won't have confused thoughts, doubts, because again, they're not always terrible. Every last one of them will then shower you with love, will actually be a normal person. And I remember wanting other people to be around so that I could see my husband or partner happy. As any good wife would. I wanted my husband happy. Oh, and that last one, he just did the disappearing act. Wouldn't come home. None of them listen to you. None of them. They don't listen to a thing you say. Unless they're asking you questions. They're asking you questions. They're tucking that away, putting it into their little filing cabinet so that they can use it as ammunition against you in the future. And they will take any painful memory that you share with them and they'll rub your face in it. Now, my mother used to read my diaries and then give me a mind fuck because she'd be like, Kathy, we need to have a talk. And then she would say things to me, and I was so snowed as a child, it never even occurred to me that she read my diary. Husband number 2, my second narc, read my diary. And then they use that information. So girls, get a safe. You are a good person. They are not. They are hurtful. They are despicable. And they are infected here. And only because I was broken, only because I was a child of a narcissistic mother, did I not see any of this. And I am only now getting my life together. They are all deeply insecure. Every last one of them. My insecurity comes from shame of existence. I was afraid for people to get to know me because if they did, they'd ridicule me and criticize me too. Most certainly I must be a horrible person. My mother thinks I am. They do a number on you. Why do we have so many of them on the planet? I don't know, but we do. The sooner they die, the better off we all will be. Please, look at what these red flags are and get yourself out of that relationship if you're in one. I know those good days make it you want to stay. I know you have trauma amnesia like I did. But what is it going to take? Suicide for you to get away? Do not let it come to that. So, yeah, why do I do these videos? And they hurt so much just to recollect. Because my girlfriend killed herself in 2020 after narcissistic abuse. Her mother is a narc as well, a different type. My mother was the noisy, loud, boisterous, bullying kind. Hers was a sweet, sweet, sophisticated, intelligent woman. And the 2 daughters she had, she gave all of her love to the younger one. And the older one, who looked a lot like her husband, her ex, my dead friend's mother, was the scapegoat. So that's why it's so serious. For you to recognize what these creatures are and to save yourself. Okay? Save yourself. and save the world in so doing. I'm rooting for you. We're all rooting for you. And you know, if there is a special place in the afterlife for these creatures, that gives me a little bit of happiness in a selfish way. We'll talk more about that later.